Your first sale in the next 14 days. Wow. You do at least $1 million in sales each year. You're making an offer. Someone is interested in that offer. And walk us through that a little bit.
So there's a couple steps that comes before the actual call. The first call I suggest is what's called.
What's that lowest amount that somebody should charge?
I can tell you can ask for 5,000, 10,000. It's just going to be words to your ears because you don't have that level of belief. If you're an absolute beginner, is the absolute minimum.
And there's something you mentioned about people who have notoriety versus those who don't.
If you're the influencer, 90% of the people who get on your calls will end up buying.
Are there great conversion rates even if you're not the influencer?
You can have a great conversion rate through.
Amazing. So Colin, how do you describe the work that you do?
It's transformational work. It's transformational work, taking a resource or a tool that has been looked down upon and turning it around in a way to help people really create changes in their life and get amazing results.
And this is through sales, essentially.
Through sales, yeah. Through sales. That's a surprise, right? It's sales what I'm talking about. Through sales, yeah.
Sometimes when people think about sales, they think of like it's something swarmy, it's something used car salesman, maybe even scammy. Why is there integrity in sales?
Because when sales is done the right way, you got to transform people. You got to help people make decisions that are best for them. And you help them to make decisions to change their lives and support them when they're making that decisions. When sales is not done well, it's the opposite. You're just doing it for you, right? And if we're in business, we've all been there. I'm not an angel. I've sold things that I needed to make the sale, but in the long term, it didn't feel good and it wasn't rewarding. And I know it may not have had the kind of impact I wanted to have, but when you're selling with integrity, you're really making a difference in people's lives. And let me share this one thing. It may not be that immediate moment. Your product may not be the product to give them the ultimate change they're looking for, but it starts the process.
Am I right and accurate in saying that you do about at least $1 million in sales each year?
Yeah, I've closed about $1 million or so, give and take, for the last couple of years.
And that's through mainly calls, like Zoom calls that are set up. You're making an offer. Someone is interested in that offer, interested in learning more from you. Then you have sales. So walk us through that a little bit. Maybe as an example, I work with memberships. And I know that in memberships, there's a few models like to have the membership itself and charge recurring monthly payment. But then there's the idea of having a free membership, which a lot of people in Arlan's All Access are doing, which is really cool. You say, well, how do you make money in a free membership? Well, you have these opportunities to upsell and to see if people want to work with you more and have more proximity to you. So walk me through that a little bit. How does that work for a membership that's, let's say a mechanic has a membership and they're teaching other mechanics how to set up their shop, but it's a free membership. How could they set up calls to sell them?
So there's a couple steps to that comes before the actual call, right?
Okay.
So it's a community first and foremost. It's set up in such a way that it helps you build credibility and show them that, okay, this guy knows a little bit more about it than I don't. And maybe creating some resources to confirm that, give them some small wins. And usually that helps build that rapport, build that trust, and it makes it easy to transition to the call. Now, the second part is getting them to a call, is giving them an incentive sometimes to get on the call. With some free memberships I've seen, they've locked most of the content. So if you want to, the first two pieces of content are amazing. If you want to get access to the rest, you just need to get on a call. That's an onboarding call, and that's one way to do it. The second is you may have an amazing ebook or a PDF or a workflow sheet or something. And so that's an instant, hey, when you book the call, you'll get this in return. Regardless of what you do, you buy or not, you'll get access to this resource. So those are the first two parts of getting someone on a call, right? Because a lot of people now have had bad experiences on getting on these free calls. So they're very tentative about getting on calls. So you got to give people a reason to get on the call. Now, the first call I would suggest is what's called a discovery call. And it does two things. Number one, it allows you to really understand what solution that person is looking for, where they are in their learning journey, right? And also, as you ask those questions, now you can then position, oh, I can help you with that. Actually, I've done that and I've helped this person do that. Oh, cool. That sounds good. And you kind of walk them through. You get to learn from them what they're looking for. A lot of times you get new insights that you didn't have because as the creator of memberships or as a thought leader, we think a different way than people who are actually going through the struggle thing because we've already worked our way through the struggle, right? So you really get to reflect back on that. And at that point in a discovery call, you could, if the call is set up in a way that you can close the sale there and they want to move forward, you just position the offer. Say, hey, you know what? Actually, all these resources in the group will help you do that. It's actually helped Bob and Jane and Susan. but it'll take you a little bit longer. So if you want some more speed, I have this premium group with a select group of people. We really get in there, and instead of you taking you 6 months to figure this out to get your shop started, our goal is to help you get that started in 90 days. Is that
Yeah.
something you'd be interested in? And if they're interested in it, then you share what it looks like, what the
Yeah.
framework looks like, what the learning curves look like, and just talk them through the offer.
And when you're talking about high ticket offers too, you sold like 10, 15, $25,000, even $50,000
Yep.
offers on calls. So this
Yep.
isn't something that you're saying is for naught. There's some real
No, 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 no.
gunpowder behind that. Yeah. And so what's that lowest amount that somebody should charge if they're doing these types of calls, no matter what their offer is, just to make it worth their while?
If you're an absolute beginner, and you've never done sales calls, $1,000 is the absolute minimum. And I said $1,000 because a lot of people need to grow into their belief that they can actually ask $1,000. I can tell
Mhm.
you can ask for 5,000, 10,000, and it's just going to be words to your ears. It's not going to mean anything to you because you don't have that level of belief. So one of the things I help my clients do is, hey, let's get started. Sometimes my clients, when they have an offer, actually one person I'm thinking about right now, she came with an offer of $2,000. Like, cool. Let's keep offering that for the next 3 people. And let me know how it feels. And then we're going to go bump up, right? The
Mm.
first, actually, one of the questions they asked her, I said, ultimately, how much would you like to be paid to do this? And she told me her top number. And we kind of worked her way up there. She's halfway through that process right now, but
Yeah.
it doesn't happen overnight. So I said minimum $1,000, and the goal there is to collect that $1,000 on the call.
Mm.
If you have to turn it into a payment plan, okay. But the goal is to collect that $1,000 on the call, and it becomes easier. We'll talk about offers, but it becomes easier when you're sure that your offer will deliver a multiple of that.
Well, that
That
is
upside.
what I hear the most from people is I don't, first of all, I don't know what to offer, or why would my offer be worth thousands of dollars or $1,000? Like some people watching this may think, oh my God, 1,000, that's so far-fetched when I make $25 at work per hour.
If you want to think about it that way, I'll talk about it that way first because I was an employee for many years and enjoyed it. I've been one of those fortunate people to have jobs I like,
Mm,
but I still left. Uh, your employer is paying you $25 an hour, but how much are they actually making in return for you to be there? Right?
mm.
Usually, if you're getting $25 an hour and you have a health package, your cost to them is maybe about $100 an hour. And in order for them to justify that, to pay you $100 an hour with benefits and all those other things, they got to be making maybe $400 or $500 an hour because you're
Yeah.
there. So that's one
Yeah.
way, just to think about that. The
That's a
other way,
great way of thinking about it. Really great way of thinking
yeah.
of that. I hadn't thought of that before.
So the other way I actually think would be better, and I did a video today on this actually, is creating an offer based off on a result that you created in your life, either for yourself personally or you've created it for someone else. And then you can go through that process and think, how did I create this for myself? And how has it benefited me emotionally, financially, physically? A story I always tell, I spent $10,000 on a sales training in 2016. That's how I got started in sales training. And that offer has paid off in spades, not only financially, but because of that offer, I had a confidence and belief to approach a woman that was way out of my league in my head, and that's how I saw it that afternoon. She had a whole bunch of objections why we couldn't date. I spent an hour with her dealing with the objections, and then 8 months later we were married. Now, would I spend that $10,000 again? Heck yeah,
Every day.
right? And that's not a stretch, right? Because I know there's a direct link of where I am today
Yeah.
to that investment I made back then.
And when we're talking about $1,000 offer, $5,000 offers, we're talking about maybe a bundle of calls, coaching calls, anything that helps someone get a solution faster. A
Yes.
VIP day, all of that, where you can teach someone something over time, and that's really great too, because that's a deep dive. And you can teach them in a shortened amount of time. And a lot of times that gets you those high ticket offers. Is that what you've seen in the past?
That's what I've seen in the past, but also again, it takes people's belief, right? Somebody say, why would someone pay $1,000 to sit down and learn this thing I've learned,
Yeah.
right? So a process I share is that with that $1,000, you can have 10 coaching calls, or you can have 5 coaching calls, or you can have 3 coaching calls, or you can have 1 coaching call. You work yourself through that process. Wherever your confidence is on that first
Mhm.
call, you
Yeah.
make it that, right? But the question is, how does it feel that you have to show up 10 times when you could have showed up 5 times,
Yeah.
when you could have shown up 3 times, right? And help them faster. Usually the result is not in the quantity of time you spend with someone, but is in the information that you give them to create the result. Because if you tell me, look, hey, you can get this result in 1 hour and it's $1,000, that's very appealing to me.
Yeah, I'm paying that
Now
every
I know
time.
that. Now I know that,
Yeah.
right? Back
Yeah.
then I may not know that.
And
So a lot of
we
people don't
do
have the belief.
we do make that mistake early on is like we say, okay, if we're going to charge $1,000, we have to give them this and this and this, and we have to do this and be available there. And by the time you finish, it's like, oh, well, I'm back to working for somebody essentially. It's a different boss. And it's taken that other person so long to get what they need that it kind of slows them down. They don't have the big, quick transformation that then gives them word of mouth to go tell somebody else, and so on and so forth. And there's something you mentioned about people who have notoriety versus those who don't, kind of like conversion rates that you have seen. I thought that was really interesting.
So I call it the influencer conversion rate, right? If you're the
Mm,
influencer, if you're the face of the brand, like I mentioned to you, Arlan, 90% of the people who get on your calls will end up buying your offer, right? Because
yeah.
number one, you're going to qualify them well, and also they're going to qualify themselves because they're
Mm,
like, I am not going to get on her, it's Arlan. I'm not going to get on there and waste her time, right? So
yeah.
they qualify themselves, and sometimes some people have filtered themselves out thinking that you're way out of their league, right? Price wise, but that's what happens. So when you'll get better quality calls because you're the influencer. So once you're the face of your business, you've already built that rapport, build that trust, build that relationship with them through your content. So that most people are thinking, oh my goodness, if I'm getting all this stuff from her for free, what else could she give me for this amount,
Mm,
right? And in many cases, and I'll mention one person, Tony Robbins. I've been a big fan of Tony Robbins. I've been to a lot of his events. It's usually the same content at every event with just deeper distinction.
yeah. Yeah.
And is the same similar content that's available to you on YouTube for free. But is being at a 3-day event, the impact that it has, being at a 2-day event, the impact it has, the deeper distinctions, because he's prepared you for it. So you don't have to like create all this stuff. A lot of times the free content you're giving away, you put that together in a systematic way.
And
That's what the
it's
offer is. And
valuable.
it's more congruent with who you are in social. Because if someone, I'm gonna mention this, if someone come to you, if you're talking on your YouTube about a certain about memberships, and then they get on a call with you and you're talking about coaching for one-on-one, creating a one-on-one coaching program, there's no congruency in that message, it becomes weird.
Yeah.
So you talk about on social media, what is it you want to sell? It increase your conversion rates. And by you being in your calls more, actually people want to talk to you because a
Mm,
lot of people think, but I've seen people say, oh my goodness, they're so consistent. I want to know why they're so consistent. I've gotten a call because that's one of the things I admire about them. They're always showing up every day.
yeah.
Now I got in the call. Okay, why is it you're so consistent? Your offers congruent with that. We can go there.
And so if somebody doesn't have an audience and they're not the influencer, should they become the influencer, or are there great conversion rates even if you're not the influencer?
If you're not the influencer, you can have a great conversion rate through trial and error, right?
Mhm.
Number one, you got to be willing to put in the work. Number two, as you put in the work, you have to be willing to grow in confidence and belief in yourself and in what you're offering. And you'll be able to close at, I would say, if you're a beginner with proper practice, you can close 2 out of 10. As you get better, you can close 3 out of 10. If you're a baseball fan, 3 out of 10 gets you in the Hall of Fame, right?
Yeah.
But and if you're really consistent and it becomes an art, 50% is not out of reach. For the kind of sales I do for other people, I normally close about 30% because again, I'm not the face. They don't see me
Yeah.
until they get on a sales call. So there's a little bit of a disconnect with
Yeah.
the rapport they've built with the influencer.
Well, the math is mathing for me because if somebody, even if at 10% conversion when you first start, because I remember you said the first 10 calls, you may get one person, the second 10 calls, you may get two people, and
Yep.
it gets better and better because you're learning with each one and you're watching the tape and you're doing all of that to review it. But even the math is mathing because if it's $1,000 offer where you're doing 1 to 3 calls with someone, as an example, it could be something else,
Hmm.
and you have 30 calls scheduled because we've learned how to get traffic to you, and you get 5 people to say yes to that $5,000. If that's in a week or 2 weeks, that's some really interesting math. And
Yeah.
we have a goal at Arlen's All Access to do an extra $100,000 in 12 months. And so that would be that 30 calls over a 2 week period, 5 yeses at $1,000 each. that gets really interesting. And the more you book, like you said, yesterday's price isn't today's price necessarily. You said that
Yep.
earlier in a call. As you continue to book, you can start raising your prices too and lowering
And that's
the
what
amount of output.
Yep. And that's a tip. If you're booking and people are saying yes to $1,000, the first like you make three offers and everyone say yes to 1,000, okay, that needs to be a little bit more, right?
Mm, okay.
Also, the other thing I suggest, set a goal for when you're going to raise your prices and by what increment. Like after my first three sales or after my first two sales, I'm going to bump it by $500.
Yeah.
Right. Now, I'll share something about that. You can start out by saying, today I'll charge $1,000, but in 6 months, I would like this to be a $5,000 offer. Right.
Yeah.
The disparity in that number is great, but you can get on a sales call and say, hey, this is going to be $6,000. But because you are one of my first 10 clients, you're going to get a significant discount and it's going to be $1,000.
Mm,
I normally don't like to make a discount that significant because it just seems you're BSing people.
mm,
Right? So what I would say in that case, hey, this is normally a $2,500 offer, or let me just say the way I would normally say it on a sales call. The people actually offer, I would normally say, great. So the investment today is $2,500, and that's you get a chance to work with me for the next 6 months, and we're going to work on A, B, C, and D, and then
okay.
just keep quiet, right? Perfect.
Mhm.
And you let them speak,
Oh. Mhm.
and then they will let you know where to go next. You'll be surprised. Some people will say, "Oh, cool. How do I pay? Hey, do
Yeah.
you have payment options?" Or somebody may say they're not able to pay. So then you can go and give them the second price,
Yeah.
right? You can say, "Oh, well, you know what? But because you're on this call, you would want to do the offer. Cool. Now, because you're on this call, there's significant incentive for you. It's going to be $1,500. I'll take $1,000 off because you're on the call and it's a fast action bonus.
How often do you do that? Where someone you said is 2,500, they say they can't afford it, and you say, okay, it's 15. Doesn't that take away from the legitimacy of the original price? Or how do you only do that with certain people?
So the legitimacy of the price is you being congruent with yourself at the beginning. Is this
Hmm.
offer $2,500 offer? If you were 100% confident and believed in yourself, do you think the person who buy this offer for $2,500, would they be able to get the results that you're promising that will justify it to them?
Hmm.
You say, yeah, that's a legitimacy of the offer right there. Right? You may not have the courage right now to ask for $2,500, but you can position it
What I'm
as
saying is
$2,500.
if you offered it for 25 and then they said they didn't have that money and you said, okay, it's 1,500 because you're on this call,
Mhm.
doesn't that take away something? Or would you do that every single time?
You can do it every single time. Another way to do it every single time is, hey, the investment is $2,500 to work with me for the next 6 months. Because you're on the call, I have some incentive pricing. Would you like to know what that is?
Yeah. Yeah,
Cool.
and so somebody who can afford the 2,500, I think I'm still going to say yes, I want to know what the incentive pricing is because even if I can afford the 2,500, I want to hear what the options are. And maybe the idea is to have something that is 25, but it is this premium version of it
Yeah.
that I still want because you don't want to downsell me if I'm not the person to downsell. Yeah.
Right. So usually the $2,500 is what we call the anchor price,
Hmm.
right? It's $2,500. I don't make up numbers. If you don't feel it's worth $2,500, don't say that, right? If you don't,
Yeah.
you better make sure it feels it's worth $1,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if it's worth $1,000, you can just say, hey, it's $1,000 to get started. If
Yeah.
it's $1,000 and you don't have another option and someone can get started, I'll offer a payment plan. But to me, the key is knowing where you want to go with the offer. So if you
Yeah.
know for the first three people, it's going to be 1,000. For the next three people, it's going to be 1,500. You can say, hey, it's $1,500. I have some incentive pricing for the first three people that we work with, and for you, it's going to be $1,000,
Yeah.
right?
It's important also if you start getting really good at this, to remember how much time you need to take to actually execute on the delivery of this, right? And
Yeah.
not get so hungry on the sales side.
Yeah, that's a great point, Arlen. I think a lot of people set prices and don't do the back end math, right? A lot of people say, hey, I'm offering a coaching program or I'm offering a membership, right?
Mm,
And they don't really realize how much time it takes actually to sustain that membership.
mm,
How much content you're going to be creating. That may be 2 hours a day or 2 hours a week, right?
mm,
How much time every day you're going to commit to being in that membership? That may
mhm.
be an hour a day because you want to respond to everyone, you want to be engaged. Okay, and are we going to have a weekly call? The weekly call may be scheduled for an hour, but energetically, mentally, it's going to take you at least it takes me
Mm.
2.5 hours. Like I do an hour call, I'm jazzed for the next hour. I got to
Oh
do
yeah.
my notes. And I do notes in a very special way because I want to make sure people get the value from it, right? You build all that time into it. And that's another way actually of justifying the value to yourself.
Well, I love memberships so much. I think people know that on this channel, but I love it because the work that you would have done with someone one-on-one, all of that work you can do one to many
Yep.
and really set up these are the days and times I'm working on my membership. These are the days and times I'm working here. And then your offer, and this is what a lot of people are doing inside of Arlen's All Access. Your offer could be not the 1,000 one-on-one coaching, but it could be my membership is 125 a month or 800 a year or whatever the number turns out to be that discount you want to give. And those calls are being added to the free membership. So there's a free membership and then there's a paid membership, and there's all kinds of information about that inside of Arlen's All Access. But that's when things really get interesting to me. Because yes, every Wednesday morning, I want to have a great 2 hour call with my membership. I want to go in, tend to the garden, as I call it,
Mm.
and have that. And then maybe you have two or three one-on-one clients. What I hear from so many people is that one-on-one coach, there's some people who are just getting into one-on-one coaching. And I think it's one of the best things you can do early on to make real money is one-on-one
Mhm.
coaching because you learn so much. And then you learn how to do that one to many. And then you
Mhm.
get to decide before you get burnt out, you get to decide how many one-on-one clients you want to have.
Yep.
And to me, that's a really exciting way to plug in the membership.
I think the great way to plug in a membership, but also is a great way to set it up for people who are now ready to go into one-on-one
Yes,
coaching, right?
100%.
So having a downsell, or if even you don't have it as you're starting out and you're doing one-on-one coaching, hey, by the way, I'm planning on doing a group program or a membership in the next 30 days. Would you be interested in being part of that? Share with them the offer, take a
Mhm.
deposit, put their name on the list, right? Trust me, when you get that first deposit
Yes.
for that person, you're gonna get that membership going.
What
Get
a great point, because when you talk about the downsell, what you're saying is, hey, let's say that you can get 2 out of 10 people to say yes to the one-on-one coaching or the this, that, and the other. Those 8 people who didn't say yes for one reason or another, and many of them it's going to be about price or timing
Mhm.
or readiness, you can say to them, if you realize instead of maybe discounting the one-on-one because it takes a lot of work, you might say, oh, okay, if that's not the right amount, I do have this $600 offer that is a full year with me inside of my membership, and we're learning the same thing just over time, right? And you have the community together and dot dot dot. And so that's downselling, but it's still coming out with a yes. And let's say
Yes.
you can get 2 people to say yes to the one-on-one, and you get 3 people out of 10 to say yes to the membership. That's 50% conversion on something.
Yep.
And that membership may be a lighter touch for you because it's one to many. So for some people, what we've just talked about in the last few minutes is what people pay $50,000 to $250,000 a year in a
Yep.
mastermind to learn.
Yeah. It's just having different options. And here's a thing you're going to hear people say a lot. Well, I would prefer one-on-one coaching. I'm not a group coaching kind of person, but she just said no to a group coaching offer. So one of the things I
Mm.
always share, I said, by the way, I think group coaching may be best for you right now because you're going to get a chance to get answers to questions you don't even know you have.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Right? And that's one of the biggest benefits of group coaching that I've experienced myself and experienced with my group is that people come on that call and say, oh man, I never thought about that. Oh, you've answered that question. I now know how to deal with that situation when it comes up.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's a great way to sell group coaching to someone who said, oh, I want one-on-one coaching. Yeah, we can do one-on-one later on. And again, it's positioning. If someone says no to it, I would ask them, hey, if I have a solution that will help you continue to grow and you'll still have a connection to me, would you want to proceed?
Hmm.
Yeah, then you present it, right? You just don't tell them it because you're telling them and they're not asking. So for me, it's big about I want people to be curious and ask me for what I have versus
Hmm.
me telling them. And because when they ask now, they're more open to listening. So
Yeah.
that's one of to me the big things about having a group option is easy downsell, as you said, but also if you just have one person in the group, is a great bonus for your one-on-one clients. Yeah.
Absolutely. And Danielle Priestley talks about hearing signals,
Yep.
people signaling their interest, and you want them to be the ones that are kind of leaning into you. And Russell Brunson talks about getting the head nod.
Yeah,
You get the head nod and you have that wave of head nod. It's they're buying into what you're saying. And if you package that, the most important part, with something that you feel very, very good about offering and that you know that will have a positive effect on someone, it's almost your job to get that in front of them because they're not going to see it if you don't get it in front of them.
that's the thing. You nailed it there. It's how would you feel if you know someone, I've heard someone say this, if someone had a cure for cancer and they didn't offer it to you,
Mm,
right?
mm,
Because they were questioning the value. Is this really going to work?
yeah.
Is it going to cause them to be too sick before they heal? You got to get to the point where you like, yeah, I'll tell you this. If I
Yeah.
have the right person to call, I'm not going to convince you, but I'm going to stand for you.
Mm.
And I'm going to say, hey, let's talk about this and be real. Why is it you are not able to do this? I had a call yesterday, and I'll share this with you. I had a call yesterday that I actually sent the person to your ultimate event group.
Yes.
She was, I don't know if she signed up or not, but she was on a call with me. She couldn't do my full offer that I was selling. I had a dunk sell. I sold her the dunk sell. But I said, you know what, you can get some support because she wanted to do events, but she
Mm.
couldn't do the full offer. So the dunk sell helped her with one component of it, but I say you can get support over here.
Yes.
Some of you stand for people and it doesn't financially benefit you,
Yeah.
right? But to me, that's not what the name of the game is. It's not everything I do don't have to be a financial benefit. She's doing
100%.
work to help caregivers. Just imagine her getting that work out there through events, empowering caregivers, empowering the patients that they change. Selfishly, that's what I'm looking for. I want her to do
Yeah.
that. So if we get results, she called me up and said, hey, yo, I've did that event. To me, that's worth more than the commission I would have made.
Yeah, there's also so many people selling BS. You look at them and you're just like, you're mad. I'm mad, that they're out there and that they're getting traction because it's like, that is really wrong. I feel that about certain things. That's really wrong. You're just taking their money. You're just a money hungry, money grab. So I want to be the antithesis of that and the
Hmm.
antidote to that. And I think that about my message too, not just transactionally, but I want my voice to be a voice that counters what I consider bad messaging out in the world. We talk a lot about confidence building on this channel and my different programs. And the majority of that confidence needs to come from how can we help other people by putting ourselves out there. And I think this is a big part of it. What's the first thing someone can do if they're not just getting started, if they're expert in other places? And, I talk to people who are doctors, lawyers, and they are stars in their position, but they don't know how to kind of take that leap to being someone that works for themselves and has their own personal brand. What is something that they can do to get started?
I'll just pinpoint on doctors. I think the system, I've talked to a lot of doctors. I just spoke to one yesterday. She enrolled in a $55,000 program for one of my
Mm,
clients. I enrolled her, but I was doing a coaching call to get her back on track.
yeah.
And we talked about how the system beat them down to believe you need to work for free. And it's your duty to do this because and they have a lot of that mindset programmed into them. And I think a lot of executives do have that mindset programmed into them from the beginning of their training. When you go for an MBA, very few MBAs like tell you, they want to make sure you're good in corporate.
Yeah.
So it's identifying what is really true. Could I still be a good doctor? Should I still be a good person and want to pursue a different path? Right? That's the first thing. The other thing is really stop minimizing your success.
Mm.
These people are amazingly accomplished and they just minimize it. This young lady did a C-section 2 hours before she got on my call.
Wow.
I'm like, you just did a C-section. You
Yeah.
brought a baby into this world and you're telling me you can't create an offer
Yeah.
that's 10 grand, right? I'm like, they're just having a higher belief in themselves and seeing the value beyond the emotional value. Like, yeah, bringing a child in the world is a very special thing, but think about the value that you just gave that family.
Hmm.
You've helped them create a legacy. So to me, it's really getting into specific about what you're accomplishing through your work, but what it really means.
Mm.
What it really means to the person. You're an executive in C-suite and you're making decisions. What does the decision really mean to that team member who's impacted? Does it mean an extra pay so they can do this for their kids, so they can have an extra vacation, right? You created that.
Mm.
So it's having a deeper meaning to the results that you're creating. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is detaching that a lot of times I heard someone say it's hard for smart people to relearn
Yeah.
because they're gonna have to relearn because you're not gonna start back in entrepreneurship for most people at that level you were in your C-suite. So they don't want to seem lesser than,
Ooh.
right? Oh
Mhm.
no, I cannot be going and ask to give away a free book. I am senior vice president of XYZ.
Yeah.
Come on, you can do that if it is really purposeful, right? If it's really meaning. So to me, it's two things, as I mentioned. It's really aligning the results you're creating to the real meaning that's happening in people's life, a financial meaning, an emotional meaning, a physical meaning, and then be willing to relearn because of
Mm.
this new direction that you want to go in. Most people at that level, they're set up to make a bigger impact faster
Yeah.
because they can invest in speed and they have a higher level of authority perceived in the marketplace. And leveraging that, you can create results faster.
Amazing. Love that. Well, thank you so much. How do we find you? And I know you have a free membership that teaches all about sales. How do we find you online?
You can go directly to colinyearwood.com/school, SKOOL, and you'll be directed to the free membership. It's called the Sales Coaching Gym Community. And in there, it's my goal to help you make your first sale in the next 14 days.
Amazing. Your first sale in the next 14 days. Wow.